Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chrism and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. Today, I'm going to change up our format a little bit. I'm just going to be, this first hour or in and around this first hour, I want to just give you what the Kundalini wants to say. And so, without any further ado, I am going to do that. Now, Amelia isn't quite here yet, so, when she comes, we'll definitely, give her the intro. So, without any further ado, here we go. This has to do with possession. Not the possession of an entity, but the possession that we have of things, of property, of what we consider an item or something of value. For Kundalini, there is nothing that does not have intrinsic value, as it is a divine creation. And therefore, that divine creation has been put in place for different levels of material-based teachings to take place. And if you look in the society that we have right now, let me clear something up right off the bat here. Brooke is here, and we have a new rescue dog here in the house. This rescue dog is a 1.5-year-old husky dog, one of those dogs that pull the snow sleds up in the far north. And she is very, very happy to be here, and she doesn't mind showing her happiness by wanting to play and to be part of the whole community, which I bless her for that. However, she will probably be making some noise. Now, Brooke and I have the kitchen squared off, and Brooke is in the kitchen listening to this conversation in the kitchen, and also at the same time keeping our little friend happy to be around people. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Brooke Robertson for giving her care and her compassion for this new friend, this new fellow mortal that we have here in the house, and may they both be blessed eternally. So let me go ahead and continue back. So you might hear some background noises. Hopefully the sound is okay. Can anybody who is in the chat room, we have a few folks in the chat room. Hello, Atlanta Seeker, Fast G, Lauren Whiteman, Nisha, Phil Karuba, Vincent 91, and Cole Kundalini. If anybody could write and let me know how this is sounding, that would go a great way to letting me just get going here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We will continue. Kundalini sees value in all things, but it's not attached to those ideologies of value or those ideologies of possession. People, through their fear of loss and want of gain, create these attachments of ownership and of the control over physical manifestation as a way of protection, as a way of security, as a way of providing food for their families, i.e., if you're in a native society, in anywhere in this world, a hunting gathering society, well, you will want to take charge of a certain area where all the animals are, or something like that. I know the Native Americans called it their hunting grounds. Well, Native Americans and Native Europeans and Native Asians and Native Africans all pretty much do the same thing with regard to staking a claim on the material part of their life here in this world, as a form of competition, as a form of the law of the jungle says that only the strong shall survive. Well, in order to be strong, one must be fed. And if one is fed enough, then one receives the amount of strength one needs in order to survive in the wild. In the human wilderness, the same thing occurs. It just occurs in different ways. We take ownership of a car, or we take ownership of a house, and we become attached to that car. We become attached to that house, and it's not a big difference between a cave, somebody's cave, and somebody's home. Okay, it's not a huge difference between those two areas. A home is a home, regardless of how it looks on the outside. It's what gives you your safety and your security, keeps your head out of the rain, or if you live in the far north like Vashti does, it keeps your head out of the ice and snow. Isn't that right, Vashti, my friend? So we form attachments to these things. Well, with Kundalini, when Kundalini comes along, it begins to distance yourself from the attachments that you have taken so much pain and so much pleasure in creating. She begins to rip apart and rip away the fabric of your attachment multiverse. And I say multiverse because we're attached to things in many, many different ways. We're attached to a spouse, we're attached to the car, we're attached to our feelings of pleasure and our seeking of pleasure. We're attached in many ways to our hatred, to our anger. Sometimes we've expressed so much anger and so much of a difficult emotion like anger or envy or jealousy or something of this nature, and we become attached to that expression. We become attached through familiarity to these very, very specific frequencies of ownership. And this ownership is a false understanding. You don't take any of this with you when you die. When you die as naked as when you were born. And so nothing comes with you. So this idea that you have ownership over anything is just it's an illusion. It's part of the Maya program of what it takes to live here in this earth form, this human form. That is on this, such a predatory planet. This planet's very, very predatory, and so in many ways the humans have decided to do certain things in order to sustain their existence on this world. And some of those things are the ownership of the world, the ownership of the earth, the ownership of the trees and the forests. And this, I'm speaking right now to European-based races and understandings. I know, many, even the Christians of today, they consider themselves stewards of the land, which I find absolutely ludicrous. Because I know that many of those stewards of the land are over there working at Monsanto, working to toxify the land, to poison the land. So not a very good stewardship on the part of many of the Christians here in this country. Not to say all Christians are participating that way, but many of them are. And so this ownership of the earth and its environment, begins to come up very strong within the Kundalini understandings. The ahimsa, the do no harm. This doesn't just apply to cows, or horses, or cats, or dogs, or other people. This applies to a blade of grass staring at the sun. This applies to that honeybee pollinating the flowers. This applies tiniest microscopic life forms in that drop of pond water to all the way on up to the dolphins, the cetaceans, the humans. Ahimsa is about doing no harm at all, which means that, of course, you can't really eat anything. Because on this planet, in order to eat something, one must kill what one eats. And even the plants must be killed. They must be taken off of the branch or in some way picked up off of the ground. And things like this is. The attachment to the world is bolstered by the need to feed. You're not going to get too far for the most of the people without eating some sort of food, and so people always run up against this wall of misunderstanding as well. Kundalini causes me to want to do ahimsa, but she's giving me this amazing appetite for meat. Well, you're going to have to follow that appetite, because one of the cardinal rules of this world is that you need to eat. And one of the cardinal rules or instructions from the Kundalini is that you follow what the Kundalini gives for you to do. And I'll be going on further on that theme in a little bit later. So in this case, in this presentation, we are following what the Shakti decides our diet is going to be. And because the Shakti, the divine within us, has made that declaration to us in no uncertain ways, mostly through compulsion, we go after that which she wants us to consume. I don't care if it's all plants and fruits and nuts and or if it's all prime rib, steak, fish, chicken, turkey, fried grasshoppers. They fry up grasshoppers in Mexico. They fry up like shrimp. Anyway, so with that being said, we have to feel and be flexible with where we want to walk with regards to how the Kundalini is directing our lives. We will still always practice ahimsa. Even as we kill that plant or we kill that animal in order to consume that food, so can we be wrapped in the strongest levels of gratitude. Gratitude as a strength. Gratitude as a recognition of the divine within that creature or that life form that is coming into you. We are in so many ways. We are what we eat. We are what we eat. We take the 1,000 hours of sunlight and we put that sunlight into us every time we eat an apple or a pear or some other form of fruit that has been there for 1,000 or more hours of sunlight, of starlight, of moonlight. It's very important for us to realize within a Kundalini context the many, many diverse spider webs connection that we are to the divine that is around us, that is within us, that is all over this world. And it's not just sitting at the base of our spine. It's also represented in that bird flying through the air, that this beautiful husky wolf dog that we have in the kitchen. I mean, the divinity is everywhere. It is everywhere, and it is really important that we begin to look at that. Now, it says the co-host is logged in. I'm going to take a chance here. 651. Is this the co-host? Hello? No? Sorry. Break in here. Hello, is this the co-host?
This is the co-host.
Oh, wait a minute.
Can you hear me?
Is this the co-host?
Yes, sir. This is the co-host.
Oh. Well, everyone, I think Amelia has finished her business, and everything is good to go. And so I would like to give a warm Irish pub welcome. Hang on a second. To the Queen of Questionable Comforts, the Celtic Queen of Questionable Comforts, Her Holiness Santara Kundalini, who is just recently joining us from very important business.
Okay.
All right, my dear. Don't. Now I've changed the format a little bit, Santara. We're going to do our announcements at the middle of in the middle of the show, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to continue then. Nice to have you with us. So as we identify with the food and some of the other materials that we need to sustain our life, so too will we identify with what the Kundalini wants to project from us with regards to attachment. By necessity, we are attached to our food. But as we continue inside of our Kundalini awakening, less and less levels of materiality need to be partaken of. You've heard of fruitarians, you've heard of breatharians, you've heard of people that are just basically beginning to narrow the wavelength of what they want to survive on this world with. And I think maybe in some of the shows you may have heard me talking about prana feeding and going outside at 3 a.m. and walking with your palms down and with your bare feet over grass or something of that nature, and then chakra breathing the prana into your system that way, or doing cetacean breathing and having a very similar effect happen as you do the cetacean breathing. So there are opportunities that we have within this life form setup, that as the Kundalini pervades our system, begins to change our systems, we can begin to forage energetically from the life forms of this planet without killing the life forms of this planet. Okay? It's like a mosquito. A mosquito lands on you and takes a little tiny portion of your blood and survives on that. Well, what a Kundalini person would do would take a little tiny sip of the life force from that blade of grass that stares at the sun. And as we take that little sip of, say, millions of blades of grass, well, you can kind of get the idea that can be a fairly interesting meal, to be sure. And remember, you no longer are you chewing, no longer are you swallowing. And Atlanta Seeker, so appropriately, she's right on target. Atlanta Seeker says, "I have food to eat that you know not of." And this was a quote from Jesus when people were urging him to eat. Okay, so very interesting there. Atlanta Seeker is a breatharian, is someone who lives off the prana in the air. Okay, the energetic aspect of air is prana, and prana feeding, comes through various, you can prana feed with your eyes, with your nose, with your mouth, with the palms of your hands, the bottoms of your feet. And one of these shows will go into that. So this attachment that we have to life is of course, obviously, we must have the attachment to the physical body in order to become a container of divinity. So we must pursue that attachment to the physical being. We need not pursue the attachment to hoard food away from other people, or to try to control other people by use of that attachment, or to try to manipulate in any way somebody else's life plan or karmic plan. From a Kundalini perspective, we are practicing ahimsa constantly, even as we are partaking of the different foods and dietary standards that the Kundalini within us directs us to partake of. So we have that attachment. These are basic attachments, okay? The other attachments grow from this because we are surviving, because we're following the Shakti. The Shakti is pointing us to different food sources. We're partaking of those food sources. Well, now we're elevating it from the first chakra and say we're going into the second, third, and fourth chakra. The sense of self, the sense of procreation and creativity, and the sense of love, the nexus of love, that where the God molecules are hanging out, is in the heart chakra. So we begin to look for the second chakra aspect of mating, or replication of the species, another form of survival. And through that application of mating and procuring enough food to raise a family on, well, we develop more attachments. And not everybody that has little kids will have Kundalini, but some of you that have little kids will have the Kundalini, and the Kundalini will also take care of dietary requirements for those kids, such such as milk, coconut milk or goat milk or, cow milk, I think, is a little overused in our country, and I don't really like to push that too much. But some of the other milks, like coconut milk and other milks, are very, very helpful for growing children, growing bodies. As we continue within our Kundalini awakening, we move into the areas of compulsion that include having a mate, choosing a mate, love, the idea of love, the possessive quality of love, and the expansive quality of love, and how does that love nourish us, and how do we attach to love? What is the love teaching us if we attach to it, and what are the many various ways and expressions that love has that allows us to go into attachment with it and yet be at the same time unattached by it? Now, we have, I would like to read something here, and this is something that, and I'll tell you who wrote this as soon as we read it. The truth of love does not confine or possess or limit another person, yet it is something of an expansive quality, which, it's expanding outwards. There is a tendency, though, to want to control and almost own another individual, and by doing that, then call it love. Much of our love is conditional. I will love you and give you this if you give me that in return. The attitude in her meditations today centered around the attitude we take towards each other in our close relationships, but more importantly, it is the very same attitude we take toward God and the Kundalini, and possibly your flesh teacher if you've been given one. It's an attitude of expectation, an attitude of ownership. It's an attitude of demand and of absolute entitlement. These attitudes do not represent the Kundalini, and they are not so representative of the love that I'm talking about right now. What they do represent are attitudes of love that the ego adopts in order to maintain a level of control and program upon the individual that's having the love, but also upon the individual that is the reason for the love to be. So can we lose the attitudes of expectation? And how do you do that? How do you lose an attitude of expectation? How do you lose this sense of entitlement that because the Kundalini is starting to wag? I'm just going to use you as an example, Vincent 91. Vincent wrote earlier today, and I'm going to read it here to everyone. And he says this. He says, Chrism, my tailbone is wiggling. I think I'm getting a spinal sweep soon. I have this extreme pressure in my lower back. However, I also feel pressure in my head with temples and on top of the crown. And he writes some more. But so you can really feel his attachment to this phenomena, and this is a good thing because he should be attached to this right now, looking at that and paying attention to that, but not so much controlled by that. And that's the slippery slope. We get these phenomena. The Kundalini gives us the phenomena. The tailbone starts to move, and you can really feel. Typically the tailbone's a very stationary structure on the body, but with the Kundalini, the inner part of the spine that is being protected by the spinal column of which the tailbone is a part. As that inner core begins to move, it can really, really feel like the tailbone is going side to side or up and down. And so it grabs your attention, and through grabbing your attention, because it's something that's fairly uncommon, you're going to attach to that phenomena. And then you're going to, as this phenomena continues and other phenomena continue, you're going to expand that expectation from the phenomena with the tailbone to many, if not most, of the phenomena of the Kundalini. How do you get rid of those attachments? Why would you want to? Why would you want to get rid of those attachments? I will say the attachments weigh you down. The attachments give you a form of expectation, and these expectations program your reality in a very, very specific frequency of cause and effect. Because you've had this phenomena before, therefore you want that exact phenomena. This is pretty much true with people that are chasing bliss, bliss bunnies. They experience the phenomena one time, and that is all they want, ever more. They don't want to go further with the Kundalini, but unless going further with the Kunalini means that they're going to get that bliss, then they'll do it. But otherwise, they just want to have that bliss. They just want to go for that bliss. And because the bliss is so good, it is so amazing that people tend to begin to use it like a drug in some way. And so this is a part of the attachment and the expectation that Kundalini phenomena can give us. And once again, the Kundalini will say, don't get attached to the phenomena. Use the phenomena to help each other. Use the phenomena to enlighten each other. Use the phenomena to assist each other in the spiritual evolution of life forms on this world, and not just the human life form. You can use those Siddhic skills to help that grasshopper fix his wing, or to help that bumblebee, get more food or find a good water. I mean, you can do those things, and I suggest you do it. I suggest you become a source of grace for all life forms on this planet, without judging which one you think is cute and which one you think is a little scary looking. People see me and they seem to go with the latter as opposed to the former. So understand that these expectations and these control vectors such as love, these have no place in the Kundalini awakening continuum. Your Kundalini awakening continuum. You don't want to have an ownership vector on the expressed love that you have. So if Johnny loves Jenny, well, Johnny needs to not feel like he can own Jenny or change Jenny to Johnny's own specifications. Johnny loves Jenny just for who she is. And Johnny doesn't need to control Jenny because he already loves her for who she is. There's no need to control her. And the same thing goes with Jenny for Johnny. Okay? And when you share intimacy, even then the control vectors can get really, really, really strong. And I'm going to counsel people right now to stay away from trying to control the person that they're in love with, but to accept them for who they are, how they are, why they are, where they are, right now. Now, it's not to say that when you have your 2-year-old and your 2-year-old's wandering off in the street, you don't grab his arm and pull him back off the street. That's different. I'm talking about adults. I'm talking about people who know their name, can spell their name, and someone who is matured in this society. Okay. It's very important that you don't enlist these control vectors to help you stabilize or initiate a loving relationship in this world. You don't need to control anyone except yourself. That's the person you really want to control. Yourself. The person that is saying, well, if I just change him that way a little bit, he'll be so much better. Or if I change her this way, oh wow, what a wonderful change. I mean, you don't want to change people and then say, oh, I love you, honey. Let your love come for them for exactly how they are. And I'm not saying you can't assist people, you can't help people, you can't give them, certain levels of instruction if they require it, in order to live their life in a more focused or better way. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that you don't overtly control people to assuage or to feed the comfort levels that your ego has laid down for you. It's like, I have to reach this certain level of comfort, or I can't be intimate with a person, or I have to reach this certain level of familiarity, or I can't be intimate with this person, or I have to, This person has to comply with my cultural rules on what it is to have loving, intimate relationships, and if he doesn't, well then I don't want him in my life. Do you think that controlling people this way is the right way to go? Do you think that Edwardian and Victorian standards of conduct are currently applicable in our world at this stage of our spiritual evolution? I would say it probably is for some, but for others, it's way outdated, and we need to expand our unconditional love for each one of us and each level of creation on this world. We don't need to own, manipulate, or control somebody else so that they'll love us, or so that we'll love them. There is no entitlement. You may have been raised as a very talented individual, and you walk into a job and you always get the job you want, or you walk into an audition and you always get the part. Every time you come to a signal, that light turns green. Everything is going for you. And then all of a sudden that stops and you're thinking, well, I'm entitled to have that light change green every time I come up to it. Or I'm entitled to get that job just because I show up. Or I'm entitled to get that part just because I'm here. You need to also begin to curtail these levels of self-inflicted entitlement that people love to assign themselves. Well, I'm entitled to feel happy. I'm entitled to have my opinion listened to and heard and honored and complimented. I'm entitled to live my life the way I see fit. It's a free country, isn't it? I am so entitled to this. And the Kundalini is looking at you and just laughing at your sense of entitlement. Okay, laughing. It's like, oh my God, look at, he's holding a kite and he's entitled to the wind. He's holding a kite and he's entitled to the wind. And just what's going to happen if the wind doesn't blow that day? What's going to happen to that guy's ideology, to that guy's personal perception of that? Because the wind has always been there before. Therefore, he is entitled to have the wind fly his kite. Well, it just isn't the case, folks. And you need to really begin to curtail, and I won't say eliminate, but really work to customize and trim the levels of entitlement that you have in your life. What do you feel you're entitled to and why? And let's bring it into a Kundalini context. What do you feel you're entitled to by the Kundalini, and why do you feel that? Well, because Chrism's having Kriyas, does that mean you get to have Kriyas too? Because Amelia may be seeing floating lights, does that mean that you must be able to see floating lights too? What is it about you and your expectations from the Kundalini is forming an entitlement within you? Why do you feel entitled by the Kundalini at all? What does divinity owe you? And if you have a flesh teacher, what does your flesh teacher owe you? Why should he or she bend over backwards to hand feed you information? What are you doing in your life that makes you feel entitled to that? What are you doing that allows you to feel that is an expectation that is worthy and that is crying out for you to sustain it because you're entitled to it? I'm going to suggest there's very little about the Kundalini that you're entitled to have. There are some entitlements. Karma is a whole list of entitlements. You could live off of the entitlements that karma is keeping track of. As you live this life and you create the karma that you're creating, and everybody just by living life is creating some karma, that will come back to you. That will come back to you. And that is an entitlement. That is an entitlement that you are coming to receive in the future context as we follow timelines in this linear world. Okay. That is a form of entitlement. Your karma is your entitlement. Your love of another person is not an entitlement. Love is not to be captured and controlled by the understandings of what causes an entitlement to exist. Love is not about you assuaging your ego desires and manifestations and entitlements that are associated with those manifestations of the ego. You don't want to transport them into an entitlement over another person. It's a very, very, very slippery slope. If it's, with a lover, it's one thing. With a family member, it's another thing. With an employer or a boss, it's a different thing. And we have to be resilient enough and able and willing to be very, very flexible with where we place our expectations of anything. When you have a flesh teacher, and if that flesh teacher, you're doing devotion with the flesh teacher, and you go up to her and you're giving the devotion to her and the Shakti within her, and she asks you to do certain things, well then you do those certain things, but you're not entitled to always do those certain things. If the teacher says that you do those certain things, well then you obey the teacher and you follow her instructions. But if she doesn't say for you to do that, you don't just start doing that. Okay. So there's not a lot of sense of entitlement there either. So really, really watch these expectations and levels of entitlement that come from the individual, because we've been raised in a society that really, really likes to feed our wishes, to feed our desires, to feed our pleasure. It's very important that we don't get caught up inside of the Kundalini continuum in the areas that feed our ego, that feed our consciousness, and the conscious seeking for pleasure or accomplishment or some other aspect of egocentric desire-based fulfillment. If you have any questions about this, you can call 347-934-0026. That's a United States area code, 347-934-0026. Look in your own Kundalini equation. Where do you have this sense of entitlement that you're owed something? Kundalini may have come to you and given you a spinal sweep, and you may have all these colors and the light shows and beautiful flutes and the tinkling of bells, and your skin may be flourishing with electric sensations and pleasurable waves of energy working their way in and around and up your body. And because it feels so good and it takes care of our pleasure matrix, do we have a right to feel entitled to these gifts? Is this something that we should lock onto with an expectation? And from the positive side of expectation, would having an entitlement expectation for something such as bliss, would that not further our exploration into the Kundalini? Would that not further our exploration into our own divinity? Can we use it that way? Well, I'll suggest for the Kundalini activated or awakened individual, you don't need to do that. You don't need to have that entitlement expectation to further your way. You're far enough along the line right now. You're far enough into the equation, most of you. You know, Lana Seeker, Fast-G, and Helly, and Lorne, and Manisha, Mary Jean, Phil, Vincent, and Cole. You guys are far enough along the line. These are just the folks that are in the chat room right now, aside from guests 1143, 1174, and 1229. For a normal person, yeah, you know, an unawakened person, then they would typically form those expectations and entitlements. But for the Kundalini person, you're already there. You're already there. It's time for you to do some of the more difficult work of detaching from your expectations, detaching from trying to control the Kundalini by virtue of what your expectations dictate for the Kundalini to do. Oh, I expect the Kundalini to give me a spinal sweep today. I could really use some bliss. Or, oh, wow, I really want the Kundalini to take me to this casino because I want to hit some money so that I can go to Peru. You know, what are the expectations? And what can you do to not try to fulfill them? I just want you to make the commitment, folks. If you're committed to the Kundalini, if you have truly given yourself to the Kundalini, given ownership of your brain, your heart, your body, your soul, the vector of the Kundalini evolution within you, if you've given that to the Kundalini, then you have no room to dictate where that's going or how that's going to be given to you. It's very important for you to begin to understand that when you make these commitments to the Kundalini, it's an actuality. It is actually heard and responded to. And no, you won't hear it always in a voice going, hey there, Heli Heinonen. Well, guess what, Heli? This is your Kundalini talking. Yes, I know. I sound a little different than I did the last time I came into your dreams, but it's me nonetheless. And Heli, I want you to do this, or that. I mean, you can expect the Kundalini to communicate with you through telepathics, through symbolism, through the language of the birds, which is the language of symbols, and also sometimes as a whispered voice in your ear. But you don't want to have the expectation of the Kundalini doing that. You don't want to try to control the Kundalini. Oh, Kundalini, if you would just tell me in English what it is I need, and I will do that. Well, she doesn't really care about training you in English. She wants you to learn the language of symbols, the language of nature, the doctrine of signature. She wants you to learn those things. She already knows you know English, Spanish, or Finnish, or Norwegian, or whatever the language is that you speak. She knows you speak that. She wants to teach you a different way of communication, a more expansive and inclusive way of communication, and this comes through the many acidic or psychic vectors that the Kundalini can give into an individual. Okay, looks like I'm going to bring Santara online here. Yes, Your Holiness.
Yes, Chrism, I'm online.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you? Are you busy?
No, you did not. No, I have been waiting.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes.
Ah, you finished up. Okay. All right. So you so what do you think of this, Amelia?
Very cool, Chrism. Yes, I would agree with everything you said. Well, we don't have any room to dictate to the Kundalini what we want and what our expectations are. It can be something that takes a while to, realize maybe.
Yeah.
And because it's not that easy, sometimes we do have expectations.
Santara,
but, you know.
Santara, you have an echo. I'm sorry. You have an echo.
Oh, I see that. Manisha says I have an echo.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So we're just going to put you in the blue here. And we'll come up here to Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice. How are you?
Hello, Chrism. How are you? I'm doing fine.
How may I help you this day?
The reason why I called because I wanted to know how can I go about being one of your students?
Oh my God, that's a very, very, very hard mountain to climb. Let me tell you, I've got one student here, and I had to take her from the hangman's noose. She's. It's not that hard, really, Beatrice. You just have to be willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. How would being a student of mine help you in your process?
Oh, that would be fine.
How would that help you?
Because I have a lot of questions, and at times there are times that there's things that I want to know, and I really don't have anybody who I can talk to about it because I don't know anybody who has Kundalini who's a teacher.
Yeah,
and this would help me out a lot in my process.
Okay, all right. Then let's talk about this. Private email me at kfireforall@yahoo.com. So that's KFIREFORALL.
Okay.
At yahoo.com, my dear. And
okay.
We'll go ahead and discuss that. In the meantime, while you're doing that, write to me a spiritual biography of yourself, and we'll go from there. Okay, my dear?
Okay. Thank you, Chrism.
You're welcome. Put you into the blue here, and evidently, I think, lost. Santara's a little upset because I put her in the blue. Oh, my God. She has, what? And the co-host writes, you can let us know next time he puts me in the red if the echo is gone or still there. Is it still there, folks? Is Santara echoing?
I need to speak. I need to speak, Chrism, before they know.
Well,
so, Manisha and guys in the chat room, am I echoing?
Echoing.
Let us know. No. Okay, Manisha is typing. It's typing out, she says.
Typing.
MJ?
Okay.
No
right.
echo. Okay.
No echo. You're good. I don't know what you were doing. I think you had an echo.
I don't know. Perhaps. Okay. So, everything that you said, I'm going, oh, yeah, I recognize that. Yeah. But, yeah, we don't have, certainly at this stage, I think I don't have the same sense of entitlement, perhaps, that I had earlier on in my process.
Let me ask you something, Santara. Can you lose your attitude of expectation? Can you lose that?
Can you say that again? Can I lose what?
Yeah. How do you lose your attitude of expectation? How does one do that?
Oh, you lose your attitude of expectation by surrendering and by actually giving the control that you want to hold on to, by letting that go and giving that to the Kundalini.
And is that the same way we lose our attitudes of entitlement? Do we do the same thing?
Yes, we do. We surrender our expectations. We surrender our entitlement. Yeah.
And how about can we lose the demand for things we think we are due in return for what we have given?
Absolutely.
How do we do
Chrism.
that?
I mean,
how do we do that?
By not having them in the first place. By when we do something, we do it for the love of doing it. We do it because it is to be done, it is to be given. We give it freely. We don't attach anything to it. It's like service. When we give service, it's selfless. We're not asking for anything in return. And therefore, when we are in relation to the Kundalini, when we are surrendering to the Kundalini, when we are doing a practice, when we're doing whatever, we don't attach any expectation to that. We are surrendering, we're giving our love, we're giving our life, we're giving our body, our thought, everything to the Kundalini. And we don't attach anything to that, and no return.
Would you agree with the statement that when coming into the spirit of love and unifying with it, this takes a full releasing of these areas of entitlement and expectation in ourselves, a full releasing of those qualities? Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, Chrism. I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. They dissolve and they're gone, because they cannot exist actually with that. They cannot exist because you're not then entering into the fullness of what you're speaking of that love.
Must we lose our expectations that are associated with the areas of feeling that we're going to lose ourselves, or lose our lives, or lose our security? Must we give up those areas too?
Yes, if I'm understanding you correctly, yes, we do. We give, yeah, we do.
Well, do we have a right to feel entitlement from God? Does the Creator owe us anything? Are we allowed to be entitled or to expect entitlement from the divine?
No, well, I don't think so. It's like it's a little bit like.
How about from another person?
I don't think.
Should I feel entitled to the number 9 bars that you sent me from Ireland? Should I feel entitled to that?
Of course.
No.
I suppose it's interesting once they arrive. Once there might be a little, no, I don't think so, Chrism. It's a little bit like, with parenting. I have, friends, and we're lots of us are parents, and there is a particular thing that happened recently where a parent expressed real disappointment with something their child had done, and it was after all I've done for them. And that's the thing, that there is no entitlement, I think anyway, after all we've done for them. We do it because whatever we do, because we're parents, because we love our children, not in order for them to give us, not for us to be disappointed. That's what I feel anyway. We do it. It's similar. Am I making sense? You're going to say no, aren't you? But yeah, it was interesting because she said, after all I've done for them, and I thought, whoa, no, that's not what it's about really, because it was focused again on a selfish expectation, a trade-off, I do this, therefore I expect that, and
to continue, these tendencies are indicative of a deep-rooted insecurity in oneself, in the area of one's own connection and trust in Kundalini and in love. More importantly, these are the very attitudes that we hold toward the Kundalini and ultimately toward God. We take for granted so many of the blessings. We take for granted what things are given, and we tend to demand more or a different blessing, or one that is more suited to our needs or our passions or our pleasures or our ego. We try to control our lives and the patterns of love around us. We give just enough to warrant a return of our liking or our love, and with an expectation of a return if it is not given. And if it is not given, we feel badly. We feel like we've been abused or taken advantage of. And I'd like to thank Brooke Robertson for letting me use her writing about the truth of love. And so so it's very interesting. And I've talked with this before on the blog talks about controlling the Kundalini or controlling the outcomes of your Kundalini awakening. To certain degrees, you can. The Kundalini has given us very, very definitive understandings about what we must do in order to continue to climb the evolutionary ladder, having the Kundalini. And the safety protocols are a very good example of that. Tongue up, eyes up, fingers locked, chin down, practicing the 5 Tibetans, all 21 of 5 separate rites, doing the pranayama or the alternate nostril breathing, doing the compression prayer, doing the stillness meditation, and for those of you who are private students of mine, doing the tritakas and listening to the teacher give you specific instructions, living up to those instructions, and placing yourself at the feet of the teacher in ways that allow you to follow the instructions that you're being given. As we continue to look at these control vectors and of these entitlement vectors and these expectation vectors about how we try to control our Kundalini awakening. You know, a lot of a Kundalini awakening, and many of you know this, isn't really enjoyable. You know, when you're taking past time experiences, a heartbreak or a divorce or the death of a child or the death of a friend or a pet, or any kind of a bump in the road or significant change in the direction of your life, we tend to want to control that and how it comes back to us as the Kundalini is pulling it up, and we're being given the opportunity to see how we responded back when this occurred, and if any of that response may have changed or matured itself as time has gone by, and we're given the opportunity to find resolution with whatever the issue is that the person is having. Kundalini awakening can be quite traumatic for folks. It's not all about becoming a bliss bunny, as much as that is very much a part of the deal. There are other aspects of it that come into a person's expression and understanding that have nothing to do with pleasure, that have nothing to do with your passion or your say your expectations of what you might think you're entitled to have. It will come way outside of what your expectations are, and you're still going to have to deal with it. You're still going to have to listen to it. If she says that, no more meat for you, my fine friend, it's just snow peas all week. You get to eat snow peas or lettuce or a carrot. You can have 1 carrot a day, and that's all you're having. Something of that nature, and she can do that. Kundalini can do that, and I say she with the Kundalini is, during specific phases of the Kundalini awakening experience. It's the sacred mother that is raising the child, just very similar to husband and wife and baby child in a human being's family. Mother gestates the child, mother gives birth to the child, and mother feeds the child of her body for certain amounts of time as that child begins to mature within the earth environment. And so it's very, very important for us to realize that we too, within the Kundalini construct, we are also being nourished and taken care of in very similar ways by the Divine Mother, the sacred feminine principle that the Kundalini will adopt as it begins its transformation of your physical, emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual bodies of expression. Very important for you to remember that. If you have any questions about this, 347-934-0026, I would like to bring Her Holiness, the Queen of Questionable Confrontations, Miss Santara. Here we are. Hello.
Hi, I'm back again, Chrism. Hi.
Oh my gosh, you have been such a busy girl today.
I know.
Can you go ahead and make your announcement, my dear? We're at the top of the hour.
Yes, I shall do that. Well, as I usually do at the beginning, I want to speak with you just about where you can go if you would like to make a donation to the work that Chrism does. And before I give the address, just to say that there's never an expectation, of a donation. But if you do want to do it, and if you're in a position to do it, it's very, very welcome indeed. There are a few ways that you can donate, but the simplest and easiest way is to go to the following website. It is www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and on the upper right-hand corner you will see the donate button. That's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and in the upper right-hand corner is the donate button. If that doesn't suit you, you can contact me at kundalinimatters@gmail.com, or just pop a private email into my inbox on Facebook, and I can let you know about other ways that you can make a donation. And that's it, Chrism. That's my announcements made.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm going to go ahead and make some announcements today as well. For people that would like to explore the communities that we have on the Facebook networks, we have Kundalini Awakening ! We have Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, which is a private secret group. We have Kundalini Awakening Systems 2 and Kundalini Awakening Systems 3. Both of those are public groups. And we also have Kundalini Healing, which is a public group. And the Kundalini Radiance Community, which is a public group that is geared towards finding a piece of land where we can put together a Kundalini awakened community, and where Kundalini people can be amongst other Kundalini people and visit there or live there or do any part of their practice there that the Kundalini in them sees is fit for them to do there. And so those communities exist on the Facebook network. But we also have some communities in the Yahoo network. We have Kundalini Healing at Yahoo Groups. We have Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups. We have Kundalini Awakening ! On the Google Plus network. We have Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 in LinkedIn. And so, as you might see, we try to be as reachable as possible for people to get, crucial information about the Kundalini and its awakening process within your body. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that there is a Kundalini. I have a channel on YouTube, and it's Chrism Kundalini on the YouTube channel, and that'll take you to about 320 videos that are talking about many of the various expressions that the Kundalini will have through you and upon you and around you and with you. And so it's very good for you to peruse those videos and watch the videos that leap out to you. See what your Kundalini wants you to watch, and go ahead and watch those on the YouTube networks. We do have, by virtue of Carolyn, we have a new website that is called www.chrismkundalini, all one word, chrismkundalini.com, and that that was made by Her Holiness Carolyn, and we also have a Kundalini awakening. I have one that's being made specifically for the UK, and so we're really doing our best to reach into the populations, to reach into people, and to really begin to give them a level of assurance and a level of security within the Kundalini awakening as it is given through me into the populations. And you'll find there's a lot of similarity with how people are sharing their awakening experiences. I would also like to thank Brooke for taking care of the dog, whose name is Tika. Is she still in there, Brooke? She's a happy girl? She's a happy, beautiful girl. Just wants to be part of the deal. Okay, all right. Just wants to be around people. Okay, all right. And looks like Amelia's talking to somebody that might have a question. That's fine. So have a look at these areas of entitlement and expectation in your life. Have a look at these areas about how you want to control a love or a lover or a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. How you want to control your Kundalini and why. Is it starting to show you some fairly challenging things and you don't want to see those challenging things, and so therefore, boom, you try to control away from that? What's going on with you with regards to these things? Now, I'm also going to, looks like we have a question up here. And looks like you have a question, caller?
I do. This caller would like to know if she will get an opportunity to remind people about the November seminar.
Let's do that, Rosemary, right now, my dear.
Thank you. And this coming November 14th and 15th, we have a seminar here in Minnesota. And we have before that showing of the really good documentary film, Kundalini, the information, my information for regarding registration information for where the film is, and that you'd like me to come and show the film and provide some discussion. My phone number is 651-452-3161. My email is rosemaryg@usinternet.com. Thank you.
Wonderful, Rosemary. Thank you very much for that. And along that same line, if I will be allowed, thank you, my dear. I'm going to put you in the blue. Definitely look for those of you that are in around the Chicago area or the Indianapolis area or the Wisconsin area, the South Dakota, maybe even the North Dakota area. Come in to Minnesota and participate in that seminar. We have not had a bad seminar in Minnesota, not even a single time. They are all really good, very informative, and quite fun, and you make some really blessed new friends. So thank you for that offering, Rosemary. I'm also going to announce the Europe's largest consciousness conference. It's called the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution, and that is going to be taking place in the city of London. This will be taking place the 27th, 28th, 29th, the 28th, 29th, and 30th of August. So really, for those of you that are listening to this in Europe right now, and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I can't come to any of these events that Chrism has in Minnesota or in the U.S. Well, now you have an opportunity to touch base with us in London on those days, and 3 days. You can really begin to understand a lot more about your Kundalini than you currently may understand, and it's really I've done one of these already, and It's the bank holiday, so for those of you that look at the bank holidays, it's the 28th of August, the 29th of August, and the 30th of August, and it's called the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution, and come on by and visit me there. I'll be speaking on the Saturday, right after Greg Braden and Lynn McTaggart will be speaking, then Greg Braden, then Dr. Joe Dispenza, and then some weird guy that calls himself Master Chrism. You know, they haven't changed that yet, but I've asked them to. Whatever. So I'll be the last speaker. My speaking time will be 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Okay, so there you have it. Come to the consciousness, the Conference for Conscious and Human Evolution, and that is www.tcche.org, and that will take you right on in there. So thank you for listening to that announcement. And I see Ariana. Hello, Ariana. Arena is listening. So welcome to you and listening, and Paul is also listening. So welcome to the both of you. So as we continue with this subject of in many ways, as the Kundalini comes into a person, and we're really Vanessa says, see you Saturday, Chrism, and I look forward to seeing you, Vanessa, at London. Definitely. I do have questions. Well, okay, Santara is letting me know that the questions are ready. I think she may have harvested them from the different groups. Are you in a position to talk right now, or do you need to take care of business?
Let me think. No, I can do it now.
All right.
I have a question from the group, Chrism, so I'm going to read it now. I have been tired this past week. In the past with Kundalini, I would feel my brain was made of jelly and I would take naps. But now it's my body that is exhausted constantly. I sleep 12 to 15 hours a night and sometimes take naps in the afternoon because it's just too hard to keep my eyes open for reading a book or going on the computer. Is this chronic fatigue syndrome? Is it something else? Has anyone experienced this? And then she says, I am drinking enough water, non-caffeinated fluids, and I'm eating balanced meals. I get about 30 minutes of exercise a day at least. And I am on 2 medications, but they haven't given me trouble before. I don't mention what the medications are. So it seems she's really... Stop.
I'm sorry. What was that?
No. No, really. I mean, imagine sleeping 12 to 15 hours a night and taking naps in the afternoon. That's pretty extreme, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to assume it's in a Kundalini context.
This, if you go to the Kundalini context, this is exactly what Dr. Kundalini has ordered. And when Dr. Kundalini gives you an order, she is going to stand there and make sure you take that medicine. Okay. And, people will need to have levels of sleep. And I understand that she's not taking caffeine, but it's those 2 medications. You see, there's 2 medications that are unnamed that can be, putting a monkey wrench into the works here. Okay, just because they haven't interfered before doesn't mean that they're not currently interfering. And so, that's Lauren White writes, sounds like my teenage son on summer vacation. Yeah, well, with Kundalini, she can have you sleep 14, 15, 16 hours a day. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And I know it's difficult for people to, let's get up and go to work, honey. and the Kundalini wants you to sleep 14, 15 hours a day. That's not the easiest equation to work with, but it is what she wants you to do, and I would strongly instruct that person to obey the Kundalini, not to find something wrong with it. Now, that's just saying if it's just, I'm just saying that if those other two medications, as if they didn't exist. Okay. But she's taking two other forms of medication, and we don't know what that is. Number one, we don't know if it's an SSRI or if it's a nootropic or what kind of medication she's taking, that the Kundalini may be shaking the finger at the individual and going, don't take that. And the ego may be shaking its fist right back at the Kundalini going, hell yes, I'm going to take that. So there may be some conflict there between the ego and the Kundalini. And that is something that really needs to be discerned by the individual, because it's, Kundalini comes straight from your natural self. It is a natural part of who you are, a natural gift of grace and gift of transformation by grace of the physical organism. The physical organism meaning your physical body and all the enzyme production and all the fluid production and all the blood, the bones, the flesh, the eyes, the brain, the hair, the skin, and the radiance of these compact bodies that we have, the radiance of 17 trillion cells, that radiance stepping out and being amplified by the Kundalini. And so, the first thing you want to really look at is, well, my doctor doesn't understand that Kundalini even exists, so why am I trusting him or her with my health care if a big part of my health care is now being controlled by a discarnate force that science can't measure or partake of or replicate at the will of their own little scientific ego? Why would I take these medications? And why would you? Now, I'm just going to say that there's a good possibility that the person may require those medications, that the Kundalini's not having an issue with those medications. Oh, we don't have enough information from the individual who wrote this question. But for the most part, I will counsel people to look at their medications very, very clearly. Read the possible experiences that a person can have from some medications, and that is drowsiness. Some medications have a side effect of drowsiness. Don't operate heavy equipment while taking this medication, like Benadryl. Benadryl, if you take Benadryl for whatever, an antihistamine, it's going to make you drowsy. That's what they do. Okay? So I would need to know a lot more information about these two other mystery medications that this person is taking in order to qualify whether or not the Kundalini is happy with that or not. And until then, it's always going to be a question mark for the person. You see, and this goes really with our conversation that we did in the first hour. This person feels that because they feel the Kundalini hasn't been interrupted with those two medications, those mystery medications before, therefore they're entitled. And they have an expectation that these medicines are no longer or are currently still not having an impact on the Kundalini, and we just don't know that that's true. We have that, we form our entitlements and our expectations very, very clearly and very quickly when it comes to these types of things. And so I would look at that. Now, outside of these mystery medications, the Kundalini itself will have you sleep for long periods of time. And this is a phase. It's not chronic fatigue syndrome. It is not chronic fatigue syndrome. Even though your MD or psychologist or counselor or veterinarian, or whatever healthcare practitioner you partake of, will say that, Well, let me go back and check my reference book because I don't have a real strong reference of what this could be in my brain. Let me go online here. Well, let's go. WebMD. Oh, well, yes, this seems to qualify for certain levels of chronic fatigue dysfunctionary syndrome, or whatever, Greek or Latin name they want to apply to it to confuse everybody who's not speaking Greek or Latin. So, yeah, it's not quite clear yet whether or not these mystery medications that this person feels they can form an expectation of non-interference with Kundalini, whether or not they're actually interfering or not. But the Kundalini can give a person many, many hours of sleep because it's necessary for the amount of transformation and change that's being given into the body by the Kundalini. And when we're in the body and we're sleeping, our ego is not so much in the way of the Kundalini. Not putting up those blockages, not putting up that resistance, not fighting the Kundalini. And so if you have a strong ego and you find yourself sleeping a lot, well, guess what? Guess what's not coming into play as the Kundalini makes these changes on your body while you're sleeping? It can be a very, very, very helpful approach. Very, very helpful approach. There you have, my dear Santara. Over.
Thank you. Thank you, Chrism. Next question. Hello. I'd like to know if some of you... Oh, no, that's not the one I'm reading now. Okay, rewind. Next question. I read today, either in this group or another Kundalini group that I belong to, that a guru can telepathically speak to his or her students. Is this true?
Well, it makes me wonder. I mean, a guru. Is this like Roo from Winnie the Pooh, and there's some sort of goo that's attached to Roo? Where? Sorry. I've always found the word guru kind of a funny word, but okay, guru. Yes.
Guru.
Yes. It's not that difficult to reach out to a student telepathically. Matter of fact, I was doing that last night. I had a student here that was giving devotion, and I was reaching into them telepathically. Okay? It's not hard to do, but you can only, for me, and I'll just speak for myself on this, some people call me a guru, and it's only in the service of Kundalini. It's not there, itch the back of your leg, or, it's nothing of that nature ever. You're always looking to see how you can improve or help a student or an individual with their Kundalini awakening experience. And so, yeah, it's sometimes the message is as easy as this. And it's not so much a verbal thing. When I'm telepathic with a person, it's not verbal. It's emotional / verbal. It's a compulsion, and it can be as easily as tongue up, and you just send that tongue up instruction to that person. And pretty soon they'll just remember to put their tongue up, and they won't know that was a telepathic communication. So yeah, it is quite possible and probable. Now, if you have some of these gurus like Sai Baba or some of these Indian gurus that have like quintillion, million, billion followers, and what is often occurring with a guru of that stature is an egregore has formed around that guru. An egregore is a consciousness that is made up of the expectations and specific understandings that guru's followers have about them. So Sai Baba and another Baba one from India, a guy with an afro, I forget his name, something Baba. They have that quality, and so the person will be visited by the egregore, not necessarily the guru. Think about that. They will be visited by the egregore, the accumulated consciousness of that guru. And they'll be visited, and they'll, be given, some standard operating procedure, SOP of what that belief system or what that guru is teaching. So that can also occur, and that can occur at a distance as well. The person doesn't need to be right in front of you to be given telepathically to. I could give that to you anywhere in the world, anywhere in the multiverse. Okay, our methods of communication and travel along the five sense expression of humanity is quite cumbersome compared to telekinetics or telepathics or things of that nature. So yes, a guru, the Ru of Gu, can be telepathic with students, for sure.
Thanks, Chrism. Next question. If a woman who has an awakened Kundalini becomes pregnant, would that child likely be birthed with an active Kundalini or later activate or awaken it?
It's a good possibility. I've seen it occur over and over and over in families. I've seen one child get the Kundalini and the next child doesn't. In my family, I was the only one that had the Kundalini, and the other three kids didn't have it. But I have seen it travel from parent to child, especially when the parent is not trying to control the Kundalini, is not trying to, they're accepting the Kundalini, they're surrendering to the Kundalini, they're working with the Kundalini, they're embracing the changes that the Kundalini is bringing. They're doing all of these things that the Kundalini is giving them, and they're embracing, and they're really doing well. They're surrendering to the Kundalini. That child will look at that and go, oh, I see what I need to do, and then boom, yeah, that would be very conducive to the Kundalini coming to that individual. Not to mention, I one of my private students, has a couple of under 4-year-olds. I think, 2 kids under 4 years old. And those kids and that spouse of that student is living with that student. That student is like a supernova going off right now. Her Kundalini is just blanketing not only the household but the entire city. And she's just walking and talking and doing what she normally does, but her kids are getting full strength Shaktipat. Her husband's getting full strength Shaktipat. And so you can expect a Kundalini awakened person, the people that live in that household, not to form an expectation, but it would not be a surprise to me to see Kundalini developments happening in that household. And in this case, of the person, it is happening. It is happening. So it can travel from mother to son, from father to daughter in the family unit. I think you've witnessed some of that in your own family, have you not, Amelia?
I have, Chrism, yes. Okay,
over.
Next question. Okay. Right, next question. Can anyone speak to entities? I have positive and negative experiences, but would like to hear from you, specifically how to remove and keep them away from my energy field, and determining the differences in communication or responses, because some are tricky, and any concerns about non-physical interaction and relationship, that is, sex.
Sex? Well,
There's three questions there.
Yeah. I don't suggest anybody speaks to entities. Number one. Don't speak to the entity. Don't take notice of the entity. Don't say hello to the entity. Don't say, by virtue of Christ shalt thou die in hell, or something like that. No crosswork. I.e., holding a crucifix up and talking with the crucifix in front of you saying, entity be gone. Stand behind me, Satan. None of that stuff really works with the entities, okay? All it does is egg them on to bother you even more. The best thing that you can do is the best thing that you can do, really, is to ignore them. They have no right to your attention. They have no right to you whatsoever. And you remember that, and you honor that, and you do not allow them to have any kind of a fixation on you, i.e., you don't answer them, you don't give them a reason to work you. And this is what they do, is they work you. So you don't respond to them, you don't ask them questions, you don't communicate in any way whatsoever. And yes, if you decide that you're going to have sex with them, they will have sex with you till the cows come home. You got to remember, entities don't have to sleep. And they're not really in it for your sex. They're in it for the force of life that comes through your orgasm. That's what they want to harvest. And I don't suggest you do it, because once you cross that bridge, it's very hard to get rid of them. You don't want to have sex with entities. You don't want to go, oh, astral sex, and, just start going off on that. Don't do that. It is not worth the attachment that can be procured. Okay. Kundalini will let you have entities. She will let you have that entity experience for as long as it takes for you to learn that it's not important to engage the lower astral environment just because you can. Just because the opportunity is there to jump off a cliff doesn't mean you jump off the cliff. And just because the Kundalini is expanding your energetic horizons tremendously, and that part of that expansion includes having the ability to interact with entities, that doesn't mean that you do it. When you're hiking a trail in the Sierras in the western part of the United States, as you're walking up that trail, just because you're on that trail and you're sharing that trail with rattlesnakes doesn't mean you crouch down and you look the rattlesnake in the eye and say, hey, how you doing? Because you just might get bit. And it's the same with entities. Okay, you steer clear of them. You don't have sex with them. You don't talk with them. You don't communicate with them. You do everything you can do to keep your ethics and your morals exceptionally high. And as you do that, any type of a corrupting influence, which is what entities typically are, they are typically a corrupting influence. Any type of corrupting influence will not be able to take hold of you because of your high ethics, your high morality. You practice that high ethical expression with the Kundalini enhancements. And that's the best way to get rid of an entity. They're not so easy to get rid of either. I mean, I was talking with Cole Kundalini the other day, and he's talking about using a crystal technique on how to get the entity out of you. And the hardest part of the crystal technique, there's two hard parts, is one, you need a double terminated quartz crystal, a little longer than 4 inches, and it's got to be absolutely flawless. No cracks, no chips, nothing. Because after you entice the entity to move into its next expression, the vehicle, the bridge, I should say, is that quartz crystal. That entity is going to enter that quartz crystal, and then you're going to put that quartz crystal over an alcohol fire. And that alcohol fire is going to heat up that crystal. And if that crystal has a flaw, that crystal can literally explode in your face. And I don't know if you know, but quartz crystal is about 7 on the Mohs measurement of hardness, which means it could literally blow your face right off and kill you. So you want to be very, very careful about, using these types of techniques. And if the requirements are for a flawless crystal, make sure it's flawless. You don't need to have that type of an explosion happen right in front of you. Well, as that flawless quartz heats up, that entity is taken into its next expression out of your body, and as that quartz crystal cools, well, boom, there you go. That's the whole procedure right there. Now the trick really is in the convincing of the entity to move into its next expression. Most entities, there are different types of entities. There are swimmers. This is about an 8-inch to 9-inch tall entity that will literally walk across your bed and dive into your flesh. I call them flesh divers. And you can actually feel them navigating your energetics inside your skin. Quite a strange feeling. It's not a good feeling because you've got one now and you've got to figure out how to get rid of it. And they will move all over the body. I went to a shaman one time just to see if she could get rid of it. She seemed to be celebrated as a shaman. She was afraid to even go to some of the areas. And the entity knew it. So, as soon as the shaman would approach, the entity would swim right to the scrotum, right into the testicles, and knowing that this woman was not going to go there, the entity was completely safe, and it was completely safe, and so this is something for you to know about entities, is they're not stupid. They can pretty much see what you're doing before you're going to do it, and so you have to really. You can't compete with them the same way you'd compete with an opponent on a basketball field or in a football field or soccer or anything like that. You have to compete with them, if you're going to compete, in very, very different ways. And what I'll suggest you do is I will suggest that you go out of your way to find opportunities to express high moral function, high moral communication with your fellow human or your fellow mortal, i.e. a dog or a cat. Give strong levels of love, give strong levels of fairness. Practice the ahimsa. Well, a person that has an entity inside them is being driven to practice the highest moral function that they can, so that any corrupting influence that entity may have is instantly disqualified through your high ethical attitude and activity. Okay. I think I've answered that enough, Santara. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Thank you. There's a question on the chat room. Are you able to read it? It's from Atlantic Seeker.
Do you believe in good entities such as the Arcturians, who allegedly communicated with Edgar Cayce and others? Well, Atlantic Seeker, not all entities are bad. Let's just be clear about that. But until you're able to discern one from the other, and until you're able to clear one from the other, i.e. take out a bad entity and talk with a good entity, then all entities should be seen as not helpful. Until you can discern those high moral caliber entities, then those kind of entities won't possess you. They won't they won't come into your body against your will. The Arcturians, or the Pleiadians or the Pleiadians, they won't forcibly take your body, whereas a negative entity will. So if all of a sudden you wake up one day and you've got the Arcturian, intelligentsia knocking at your inner cranium and going, hello, hello, you know that is not a good entity. Because they're not asking permission. They're already there. Okay? Permission is a big deal. If you give permission, that's one thing. If you don't give permission and they go ahead anyway, that is a corrupting influence. That is a corrupting influence. So there you have it, and I want to say hello to Matthew Collins. He just got back from teaching his yoga class. Hello, Matthew. So with the entities, it's very, very important. And some of you may see some of these entities, and they're not the prettiest creatures. Some of them will try to scare you. They'll all of a sudden, a head will come out of your wall, or you'll be eating at a restaurant. You'll see somebody eating a few tables down, and that person will just look at you and then take his head off and set his head on the table that he was eating in front of and just look at you with his eyes blinking. And that's just an entity trying to get a response. That's all that is. Don't worry about any of that stuff. So yeah, some of the entities, you'll see them as a spot of light with a black dot in the middle. And that is something that is clouding the light of that entity. And so in a really interesting way, you get to see the truth of the entity. You see that the entity is indeed blocking their own light by their own level of karmic dysfunction and their own level of caustic corruption that they're trying to give to the human person. Okay. So yeah, you want to be very, very, very astute and aware of entities. Don't be afraid of them. That's what they want. Entities want you to be afraid of them because they want to control you through your fear. I was talking with this individual just yesterday, and what the entities do to this person is they show the person a picture of a dear family member, and then they show a picture of that dear family member getting their head squashed or run over by a car, and the entities tell the person, unless you do what we tell you to do, then this is what's going to happen to your loved one. Oh, here's a real visual picture. Scares the heck out of the individual, out of the person, the flesh person, and so the entities are basically using that person like we would use a puppet. Seriously, the entities are telling that person, okay, go and walk around that parking meter 16 times and then come back and report for your next assignment. And the person will go and walk 16 times around that parking meter and say they're finished to the entities, and the entities will give them another task. Stupid tasks. Tasks that are just being used to cement their control over that individual. And I told that person, you're being lied to. You're being lied to, you're being manipulated by fear. And because they can see what matters most to you, they can give you a fear that would matter very, very much to you. And so you will walk 16 times around that parking meter just because we told you to do it. This is typical entity corruption. This is what they do. This is their job. This is their task. Your task inside of that equation is to trust your Kundalini, trust your flesh teacher if you have it, do the devotion to the Kundalini, do the devotion to the flesh teacher. Let that become your shield if you must shield. Let that keep them from you, and it works. It absolutely works. I have people that have been saying mantras given to them by me just for this purpose. Just for this purpose. And it does work. It keeps those entities at bay. It helps the individual understand what the difference between a corrupting force is and a benevolent force, so that you have resource then. And you can use that resource to keep yourself pure. Over and out.
Thank you. Next question. Can Kundalini be awakened by doing Vipassana meditation?
Yes, definitely. Vipassana, for those of you who don't know, Vipassana is a type of meditation where you're split up gender-wise, so you're with your own gender. Typically, this is one of the typical ways. There are many ways to do Vipassana meditation, but the typical way is it's a 10-day retreat, typically, and you're either in a building or you're out in the environment. I prefer the one that has you out in an environment next to a creek, say, and so you're not speaking to anyone. You're just moving with the flow of grace that is there at that meeting, but also within you. You're just listening to the creek. You're becoming the creek, or the waterfall, or the stone in the pond. I mean, it's a type of meditation that really brings you into a level of communication with Source. And because it's 10 days, for people that are ready to pop, well, that can do it. That can pop you right there. And so Vipassana meditation can be indeed an activator of the Kundalini. But once that's done, then it's a whole different life for the individual. You don't want to depend on Vipassana as a vector of helping you join or live a life through the Kundalini. That's not going to help you. Matter of fact, the Kundalini may not even allow you to go back into a Vipassana style meditation, and yet on the other hand, it may push one on you. So a lot of it depends on your level of karma and your level of what you want to experience within the Kundalini itself, what you're willing to participate in as far as a meditative stance. Vipassana is good. Silent meditation is good. Mantra meditation is good. I actually prefer the mantra meditation for Kundalini people because it really has a great way of quieting the monkey mind. The monkey mind is taken with the mantra, and every other part of you goes to where that mantra is directing you, but the monkey mind stays focused on the mantra. And I find that to be very helpful. Go ahead, Santara.
Next question. What is the significance of taking an oath from a guru when you take his apprenticeship?
Well, if you want that guru to visit you telepathically, to visit you energetically, if you want any kind of an interaction, a defined interaction with that teacher, are you okay there, Amelia? Are you sneezing?
Yes, good. No,
do you need
not.
the guru to come and help you with that sneeze?
I'm going on blue now so I can cough. One second.
All right. So yeah, the guru. Oh shoot! I forgot what the question was. What's the question again?
Okay. What is the significance of taking an oath from a guru when you take his apprenticeship?
What I find interesting is they call that bait. BAIT.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this from a fisherman's point of view, and I'm going, well, bait typically involves a hook and somebody getting pierced by a hook, and the writhing, their death throes are used to attract the prey that would be interesting in consuming that bait. I don't think bait is very good. If somebody's using bait, then I would say keep on walking. Find a guru that's not using the term bait. So if you want to, like, say, for instance, I'll have people make a public declaration that they have chosen me as their teacher, and that, a public declaration that states that they give permission for Chrism to communicate with them or to embrace their Kundalini in very specific ways. That, I guess, would be a declaration of permission for me to come to them, to work with them, to work with their Kundalini through my Kundalini and through the various offices that the Kundalini can commit itself into the flesh of a person. And so, yeah, you do that in order to have direct application of the teacher upon that student. And it is so that the person can have that experience with the teacher, the directive force of the teacher. And so the person makes that declaration, or becomes, in some cases, the bait. And the guru, will catch a fish with that bait. So there you go.
Yeah, the word bait was written down, and oath was in brackets, and I thought, I'm not going to use the word bait because I wasn't sure. But okay.
Evidently, that's
kind of a strange one.
Evidently, that's the word they use, but I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I would.
Next question. Okay, so the next question is, I have been having hot spine and involuntary shaking and swaying during meditation. Is this cleansing the root chakra?
Well, I think the best thing to go along with a hot spine or some hot ribs, maybe some spare ribs, sweet sour sauce on the side, if you're into pork. A hot spine, that's all good. That's all good. That's indicative of the Kundalini. That's indicative that the person is getting ready, perhaps, to have a spinal sweep. What was it? Ask the question again.
The question is, though, is this cleansing the root chakra?
No, it's not cleansing the root chakra. It's not cleansing the root chakra, but it's not necessarily. Is the root chakra dirty? Did the root chakra not get clean the last time they took a shower? I'm asking.
Oh.
Do you know, Santara?
No, I do not know, but it's an interesting point you make, though.
Yeah,
Smiling
is the
aside.
root chakra dirty? Does the root chakra need to be washed? Does it need Grandpa's pine tar soap to go upon it and to work its way through it? What part of the root chakra would get dirty? And does the root chakra, which is the dormata, or the bedroom of the sleeping Kundalini in a person, can that be dirty? Does it ever need to be cleansed? When's the last time anybody cleaned their tailbone? We'll start with you, Santara. And how did that occur?
Yeah, it is interesting though, how very often questions come about, things being wrong with the chakras and they having to be cleansed and
rebalanced, or it's not spinning the right direction. All this new age crap. Pardon me if I'm stepping on anybody's toes. The chakras know exactly what to do. They don't get dirty. What gets maybe a little soiled will be the person's mindset and programming, individual psychological programming. That can become corrupted. A person's expectations can become corrupted. A person's, as we've been discussing in this show, a person's sense of entitlements can become corrupted, and those things may need to be cleaned or gotten rid of. But a first chakra? No. And then Vincent91 writes, Master Chrism, through your lesson, I surrender my attachment to my sense of entitlement, and I feel so much better and so much more grounded. This is Vincent91, everyone. He has heard the lesson. I surrender my attachment to my sense of entitlement. What a great mantra. Vincent's mantra, I surrender my attachment to my sense of entitlement. How perfect is that, ladies and gentlemen? Give that man a hand. Nicely done, Vincent. Nicely done. Good job. Good job. Next question there, Amelia.
Next question is about Shaktipat. You have a question from somebody who says they want to prepare for the next Shaktipat and they want to know whether root vegetables are to be taken raw, boiled, or in which form. And also in relation to the 3-day fast. Is it done every month or fortnightly before the next Shaktipat?
Practice the safeties every day. Safety protocols are on KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com. That's the first thing you do. doing the 3-day fast, you do the 3-day fast, and you do the last day of the fast on the first day of the Shaktipat, which would be the day 1, the red day, the day of the Shakti. Okay. You do that only once per quarter. And you only do that if you can safely medically do so, i.e. you don't have low blood sugar, or you don't have some sort of a scenario where if you don't eat enough food, it's going to be really bad for you in a very short amount of time. Okay? So you need to be very, very careful when you're doing any kind of fasting. Okay? With the Shaktipat, basically the 11th of any of the Shaktipat months, I will place the scatter field 3 a.m. on the 12th. So the 12th of the month, I will set the Shaktipat. 9 days later, the Shaktipat will begin. The Shaktipat goes for 7 days. You follow all the instructions of the Shaktipat. And then the scatter fields, which modulate the flow of energy, they come down 9 days after the last day of Shaktipat, the 7th chakra. So 9 days after that, the scatter fields are released, or they're dissolved. They're gone. And as far as you don't need to do, I don't want you to stress the body out too much. I want you to practice the safeties. That is the most important thing. Vincent wrote, he says, I fasted for 3 days last week, and it went okay. I was extremely tired, he says. So you can do that. I suspect that it's best for a person to start the 3-day fast with maybe some juice, and then go from juice to, say, maybe just a little square of honey, and then just water on the 3rd day. Okay. Like when I was fasting, I would eat 1 square cube of raw honeycomb. That's all I had for like 7 days, and that was like 1 inch square. And I did that because I was compelled to by the Kundalini, so I guess it was a a honeycomb fast, is what we'll call that. But it went very well. It went very, very well. And, I lost 30 pounds in a week. But I don't suggest you use that as a weight loss technique. Next question, my dear. We're down to 2 minutes.
Okay, well, can you just say about the vegetables, the root vegetables? Does it matter if they're raw boiled, or you can mix and match? Can you?
Best to eat them raw. If you're going to boil them, then drink the water.
Oh, yeah, good, yeah, okay. Well, then I won't ask anymore, and it would be the 19th of the month then for a Shaktipat fast. Day 1 on the 19th, day 2 on the 20th, and day 3 would be on the 21st, yeah.
Right.
Okay. No more questions then. We have no more time, Chrism.
Last words by you, my dear Santara.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. I loved to see everybody this week in the chat room. There's a big, huge, long list. Hi, everybody, and see you again next week. Thank you very much, Chrism. Thank you, everybody, and the listeners as well that were listening on the phone. Hi, everybody. That's it. Thank you, Chrism, and same time next week.
Atlanta Seeker, it is during the equinox and the solstice. So we just finished a Shaktipat. I would like to thank Atlanta Seeker Fast G guest 114311741229 1723 Helly Hainon and Lauren White, Manisha, Mary Jean, Matthew Collins, Phil Karuba, and Cole Kundalini. Thank you for joining us in the chat room, and thank you Rosemary and Eileen, and of course Her Holiness Santara. Thank you Brooke Robertson for letting us use your written material, and thank you everyone for joining us in the archives and in the chat room and online just with your computer. It's a pleasure to serve you all in these ways. Many thanks.